Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome, everyone, to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen. And it is Thursday, February 1st, the first day of February. Shout out, as always, to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. Jensen, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Sorry, we're a little bit late this morning because my internet decided to stop working right when we decided to start this show. So I just had to go double check to make sure everything's working. Should be good to go. But everything's going good, man. We got some good news to talk about in today's show. Hope everyone is having a good Thursday morning, ready to talk about some good stuff today in the world of professional wrestling.
Before anybody asks, let me ask, is there a job update?
Okay. So last week, I had two separate calls randomly, one with my current boss, one with my potential new boss. The first one was from my potential new boss saying, "We're so sorry this is taking so long. These are the reasons why." And then my current boss reached out the next day and said, "Hey, just so you know, I can't say anything to you because I'm not, I can't say it, but we have found and been training the new person for this team. So they told me I should have an offer this week, although it's Thursday. I mean, there's only 2 days left in the week, but, it's all but official. It's all everything except for me actually signing the thing at this point, pretty much. So it's been a hell of a process. They still have not given me an official offer, so I still unfortunately can't confirm that. But they told me it was coming this week. I mean, it's from my boss and my boss's boss. There's once again, my company merged with another company, and that process has been anyone who's gone through that, where two companies merge and you're kind of in the middle of that and trying to get a promotion at the same exact time. It's just the timing was awful as far as everything changing all at one time. So anyways, they've explained it to me. They're I'm cool with it as long as they don't pull the rug out from under me at the last second or something. And in which case I'll definitely let you guys know. But can I say what the role is vaguely? Like a team manager, you're in sales now. I would call it more like customer service, but yeah, this is more of what I do currently is a lot of me on the phone with people. What I'd be doing instead would be more emailing people, getting paid more to email, which for someone like me that talks so much with podcasting and stuff, I'm trying to do less with my voice if possible. So it seems like an easier job for more money, and it's something I could only do with it. It's a job I could only get if I had already done the job I'm currently doing, if that makes sense. So the 2 years I've put in at this job really prepares me for the next one. And I wouldn't even be able to get this next job if I hadn't been doing this for 2 years. So anyways, that's kind of what it is. But I appreciate everyone. Yeah, we got bigger news to talk about this week than me, for sure.
Fingers crossed next week we will have a more positive and an official update on Stephen Jensen and the job the job story here, finisher story on the job. But as you know, Jensen,
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Guys, you can leave a super chats, leave a question, comment, statement, get it right on the air. If it is super chat, leave us a thumbs up on the video as well. Subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed to the channel. And we have a super chat related to the story and finishing the story. You don't win back-to-back Rumbles, have Cody on the 2K cover with Finish the Story moniker, and have him on Jimmy Fallon like Roman the last 2 years. Cody has to finish the story and beat Roman. Jensen, he did it. He won the 2024 Royal Rumble, last eliminating CM Punk. He pointed to Roman Reigns. He said he was going after Reigns. On Raw, Seth Rollins tried to make his appeal that Cody should go after him. Cody's going to be on SmackDown on Friday. Walk us through from the Rumble all the way to now.
I absolutely will. I'm going to clear my throat out a little bit for this. So it isn't even just the things that were mentioned in that super chat. It's also like, remember last year how he had his whole family in the front row at WrestleMania, and -1 was in the front row, Brody Jr., and like he handed the weight belt to Brody and everything, and it's like, oh, there's no way he's gonna lose now. Like, I mean, look at this. And then like this year, he's inviting the entire wrestling club to the show, and it's like, you can't keep doing this to the people. Like, it isn't just me. It's like, it's everybody at this point. Like, you can't fly out the whole wrestling club and then Cody loses in front of them. Like, I mean, but I'm saying it can happen because it literally happened to Brody last year and Cody's family in the front row. So anyway, I want to get that out of the way too. There's even more than what was mentioned in the super chat.
Like they flew out a bunch of Make-A-Wish kids for John Cena. That didn't stop them from losing. They can beat whoever they want to beat. Doesn't matter who's in the audience.
That's true. And my point is, like, it's even that I'm considering. Like, I'm honestly trying to think of any specific reason where I'm like, oh, they definitely wouldn't do that to again this year, like because of this reason and this reason and this reason. Now, as far as the Royal Rumble itself and like the whole situation we're in right now, I thought the men's Rumble match itself wasn't great. I thought the women's was pretty good though. I really enjoyed the women's one. The men's one up once it got to like the last like 6 or so, I thought it really started getting good. And I mean, so Cody comes out at 15. I came really damn close on Wrestle Rumble also, by the way. I would have probably won the 500 for the Rumble contest if I wouldn't have gotten beat on a technicality. I chose 3 eliminations for Jade Cargill, and she got 2. The third one didn't count because she used someone else to knock them out of the ring. Oh. So that was a 20-pointer, and I missed by. Well, I got 25th place, but that 20 points would have. Anyways, shout out Wrestle Rumble. That was still fun. So Cody comes out at 15. Things really heat up, obviously, once it gets down to Punk and Cody, because I'm pacing around my place. I have a couple buddies we're watching with, and I'm like. It's like, of course it's going to come down to this, right? Like, of all people. But once again, even on Wrestle Rumble, I had it coming down to the two of them. Like, I figured that's where this was heading. I'll also mention that I noticed CM Punk's injury immediately. He took that Future Shock DDT and grabbed his arm and then, like, rolled to the corner. And me and my friends were immediately like, he's hurt. Like, a referee's talking to him. So I spotted that immediately. And massive shout out and credit to CM Punk for finishing that match with the torn, was it triceps that he's torn? Yeah. So, I mean, that's... Y'all know my feelings on CM Punk, but like I'm not gonna hate on the dude when he deserves credit for finishing.
Why Drew McIntyre hates on him? It's fine.
Drew McIntyre is the best wrestler in the WWE that isn't named Cody Rhodes right now, and we can talk about him too if we need to. I love Drew. But so it gets down to Cody and CM Punk, and obviously, it was really good drama wise, but the fact that Cody gets the job done and he wins. And Punk had a pedigree and stuff. I mean, he's really starting to lean more into the, well, he's going to be gone for a minute, so we'll see where all that. I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. But anyway, Cody wins, points at Roman, does the whole thing. The two sweets, the guns, and the point to the crowd. It was awesome. I was marking out. It was the best. It was a great night. I was really, really excited. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm even saying out loud, and I'm like, this is it. Like, he's going to finish the story. Like, he's pointing at Roman. It's going to be Roman and Cody too. Cody's definitely winning this time. Like, it's definitely happening. And then Monday rolls around. Cody comes out to the ring and basically says, I'm here to challenge Roman for WrestleMania is basically what he's getting at. Seth Rollins music hits. All right. There's a lot of issues I have with this whole Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes thing because there's a lot of things that play and a lot of moving parts. It's similar to my promotion right now in certain ways where it's like, I know what's going to happen, what should happen, but like, because someone else needs to be hired for my position first, nothing can even happen for me until that's taken care of. And then this thing has to get approved. And it's like, they're like moving pieces and it's frustrating trying to, make sure this happens smoothly. And for Cody Rhodes, one of the things now is CM Punk gets hurt. So you can't do CM Punk and Rollins. So do you actually just pivot to Cody and Rollins and you still have the opportunity to do The Rock and Roman potentially? So like, is that a reason? That would be the most ironic thing that's ever happened, would be CM Punk cost Cody Rhodes his story this year at WrestleMania by getting injured. Like somehow CM Punk coming into WWE and getting hurt affects Cody Rhodes finishing the story. That would be insane if that actually wound up happening to me, to Cody, to the fans. Like of all people, it's CM Punk that happened. You know what I mean? Of all people. And I'm not blaming CM Punk for getting hurt. I'm not happy he's hurt, just for the record, so people know. But it's just like, how crazy of a coincidence is that? And Seth makes a pretty compelling argument about, this being the Dusty. Well, that's what they're trying to. They're trying to make you think that Cody's going to actually maybe choose Seth. I don't think he's going to, by the way, but I'm trying to paint a picture here. So at the end of the day, Seth's idea is this is the Dusty title. This is the title that's getting defended every week. Roman shows up a few times a year. That's not the title you want. That's the Ultimate Warrior title. You want the Dusty Rhodes title. You want the Workhorse title. Now, I don't think Cody's going to choose that title, but I think it's strange for Seth to even do this, because if Cody doesn't choose Seth, it makes Seth's title look even lamer than it already does. And it already looks pretty lame because Cody hasn't even targeted it once since its inception, and Cody's been undefeated this whole time. Beat Brock 3 times, beat Shinsuke, beat Dominic and Finn and all these guys, Judgment Day, and it's like, and he hasn't even once been like, yeah, and I want that title. Like, you didn't care about it, so why would you care about it now all of a sudden? So I want your thoughts on this too, obviously. So go ahead, but that's where I'm at. I don't actually think he's choosing Seth Rollins, but like if they pivoted because of CM Punk's injury, that would be the most ironic thing that's ever happened to me, like as a wrestling fan.
I think they're just doing the Seth thing because they needed something, because it was going to be Seth and CM Punk. I think the plan was always Cody and Roman. They just did this segment because Punk got hurt. And so now you need something else to do, at least for that night. It bought them a segment. It might buy them an extra week. It'll buy them a segment on SmackDown when Cody makes his actual decision. I don't think Seth's argument holds a lot of weight, because I understand Seth, what he was trying to do from a kayfabe perspective. He wants to wrestle Cody. Cody beat him 3 times. He wants to big up his title. But from a Cody perspective, you beat him 3 times. You want to face the guy that beat you last year, that cost you the match last year, the family that cost you the match last year. So I don't think they're pivoting anything. I just think it was a segment to do a segment, and then Cody will make his decision on SmackDown. He'll pick Roman, and then Seth is a man without a match for right now. Whether they go with Gunther, whether they go with Drew, a triple threat match, maybe with Drew and Sammy. There's some options out there, but for right now, he doesn't have a match because it was pretty clear that they were going to go Seth and Punk, and that's not going to happen now.
Yeah, and for those other options, those are good options. Like I've said this for a while. I'd be all for Gunther being the Intercontinental Champion, going into WrestleMania, challenging Seth Rollins for his world title and doing title versus title, like Hogan Warrior style. Like I'd be totally fine with that, because I've mentioned it before, because people really want to see someone get the rub off beating Gunther for that IC title. But if he never loses the IC title, someone's still going to get that rub when they eventually beat him for the world title. It'll be even bigger because he hasn't lost in so long, and multiple title belts. And you can just do a tournament for the IC title afterwards. And you just got to make sure you protect that next champion and keep him as strong as you're trying to keep Gunther. But I mean, for me, the person who's the biggest loser out of all of this kind of is Damian Priest, because like, I don't even view him as like, there's nothing really against him. It's because of like the current landscape in the company where other people are at. To me, Damian Priest is like 10th down the list of people I would even care about seeing as a champion right now. Like for me, it's Drew McIntyre 100%. Like I do Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. That's my, but I would have no issue with Gunther or a triple threat. I like both of those ideas too, because Gunther deserves something big for sure, especially if they're going to do Gunther and Brock. And if they had to pull Brock, like, I mean, you still gotta, Gunther deserves a big spot with the spot that he's been in for the last couple of years. But when it comes to Cody, yeah, I imagine he's got to still go with Roman. And I mean, I'm getting pretty excited about it again. And it's getting a little scary. Like I'm like, kind of envisioning him doing this and finishing the story, but I can't get too excited. And there's also the possibility of The Rock, and we don't have to get into the McMahon stuff because that actually happened like the afternoon of our last show. So like we haven't talked about that, but it's been a whole week of it. You know, we've heard everyone else talk about it, but like there's also things I'm trying to keep in mind too when it comes to that, where it's like, well, you know, does The Rock have to like? Do they feel like The Rock needs to be a part of this? Like he's like one of the owners now. Like they need a new look for the company. Like, you know what I mean? Like is it a good PR move like to have The Rock involved in WrestleMania now? And like is that how they feel about it? When the new ownership came in, I don't know this for a fact. It's just my own personal feeling, and it's been my feeling since last WrestleMania. I truly believe Cody Rhodes was going to beat Roman Reigns last year at WrestleMania, and then the day of the show when the sale was like becoming a thing, I honestly think the new Endeavor management or Vince McMahon himself, because that's when he came back in to do the sale. I honestly think that's when the decision was made. No, we have to keep this on Roman. Like Roman works, Roman's the face of this. We're not taking a risk by changing it to Cody right now. We're keeping this with Roman until the sale. And so that makes me think like, well, will they do something similar where it's like, Cody's already our guy. Cody's already basically the face of the company. We'll do Roman and Rock this year. Roman will win again. He'll hold the title to next WrestleMania. Cody wins this other title this year. You merge it all next year, WrestleMania 41. It's for all the titles. And Cody's got to wait a whole other year to wrestle Roman. I obviously hope that doesn't happen, but those are the things that I'm like thinking could potentially happen is, you know, maybe we have to wait till next year for the rematch between Rock before. But also, if you get the title on Cody, which they already showed on last year, we talked about that at nauseum, how this should have already happened a year ago, and we should be at 1 year with Cody with the title right now. But imagine if like you do Roman and Cody this year, and The Rock is involved in the finish, some way, one way, shape, or form. Whether it's, you know, he attacks Cody and he actually is aligned with Roman, like in the bloodline, like or something, or he helps Cody win and like, you know, it sets up Cody and Roman. But eventually, if you got Cody Rhodes as the world champion from this year until next year, and you want to bring in The Rock and have Rock versus Cody, like think about how big that's going to be with how big of a star Cody is right now and how big he's going to be with 1 year with the title. Like you have all these other opportunities. Like you got to get that title on Cody. Like he's your Cena. He's your John Cena right now. You got to do it. So that's how I feel.
I've said this. I think that Rock and Roman is next year.
It should be.
I think Rock wants to hold off a year. I think he wants it to be the first Netflix WrestleMania. I think it's next year. I think they're going Cody and Roman. I said that last week. Despite the reports that turned out to be not accurate, I thought the plan was Cody and Roman. And yeah, Cody makes sense to win the title. I could also see Cody not winning the title and then deciding Rock and Roman needs the title and Roman's going to hold it for another year before he faces Rock at Mania next year.
One, you're saying he'd retain over Cody and then do
yes.
Rock and Roman next year. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh.
He retains over Cody, bloodline interference, whatever it is, bloodline stands tall at the end of the night, and then the if you smell hits and Rock comes out to confront Roman, and you get the big stare down to close WrestleMania of Rock and Roman, and then that's basically the challenge of 1 year later, Rock and Roman is going to happen. They'll make that official, I guess, the next night on Raw. But I could possibly see that. Possibly see it. I still think Cody wins. I think it's more likely Cody wins because Rock kind of interferes and helps as Bloodline tries to, which is really just Solo and Jimmy at this point. But, you know, Solo was the guy who cost him last year. Solo comes out. Here comes Rock, takes out Solo, allows Cody to win. And then Cody wins. And then that's how you set up Rock and Roman for next year.
Yeah, that's the scenario that I actually think is the most likely, is exactly what you just said. The Rock helping Cody win the title and setting up Rock and Roman next year, non-title. The first scenario you laid out, Cody just never finishes the story, period. like he loses to Roman. Roman and Rock is next year. I guess that would make Cody look so lame if like he kept losing for this title, and then he finished the story by beating someone for the world title on Raw, like the title that's been around for less. That's the other thing. This title's been around for less than a year. Like, there's nothing you can do to convince me that Cody would be, interested in that over the, like, the story is the WWE title. It's the title that Dusty held in Madison Square Garden that got taken away from him. Like, that isn't the world title belt that's been around for less than a year. That, listen, Seth's done a good job with that title. I'm not going to sit here and like WWE, I've said it before, they're in a good spot with, they've got a lot of like legit main eventers right now. And Seth Rollins is definitely one of them. He's one of their most over guys. He's done a really, really good job with that title belt. But I've also felt like the title belt's kind of lame because, once again, it was put on someone who lost to Cody 3 times in a row. And Cody has no interest in even challenging. Like, he knows he can beat him. If he wanted the title, he could get it. That's how little he cares about it. He hasn't even thought about it up to this point. So, and he's been thinking about nothing but Roman. Finishing the story all year. This whole bloodline thing with Jey Uso's whole transformation is very heavily involved with like Cody in that story and Sammy, and like it just has to happen. It just has to happen this year. Cody's got to win. I got to start setting up my tattoo appointment and hair dyeing appointments again soon.
Well, Side Spurs says, Steven, it's in the bag. Stop worrying. If he doesn't finish the story at Mania, I'll drop $100 super chat on the subsequent spotlight. Now that we're talking money,
no, check out the tip jar on my Twitter. I don't know if you want to do it through the super chat. Yeah, I appreciate the sentiment, Side Spurs. But and J.K. Shaw, by the way, he got like, I think he got second place in the CM Punk contest and like top 10 in the like, and he won a free entry from us, I'm pretty sure. So there's people winning some prizes or getting close. But yeah, in the bag, Chi-Town. Listen, that's how I want to feel about it, but that's exactly how I felt last year. I thought it was in the bag last year. I'll never forget exactly where I was standing when he lost to Roman. I mean, I was. That memory is burned in my brain, and my brother's reaction to it, I'll never forget, because he wanted to roast me so bad. He loves when like when I mark out on something too hard and it doesn't go my way in wrestling. He just thinks it's really funny because of how much I care about it. But even that one, he was like, man, I feel sorry, man. Like, I'm so sorry that happened. He's like patting me on. He's like rubbing my back. Like, man, I'm sorry, bro. You know, it's like, that's how bad it was. So anyway, and it could happen again. But dude, especially with everything going on with Vince and all this, like, they really have opportunities here to rewrite a lot of history, which I think is smart in a lot of ways. And I mean, obviously, but one of those ways is like Cody. Like, you have your new good guy is in the palm of your hand. He's already that guy. He's already getting the reactions. Just put that title on him. Like, it's right there. Like, this is the only excuse you could make at all against it. If you're the WWE is, we want Hogan's name out of the record books. We want Roman's name at the top of these record books for title reigns. So we got to get Roman to, he's got to.
I don't think they want Hogan out of the record books, though. Hogan did the cold open for Rumble. Like, yeah. I think people point to that of like, oh, they want to rewrite records and everything. I don't know how much they want to rewrite that. Bruno, I think, is not going to be touched. And Triple H was the guy who brought Bruno and Vince back together. So I think Triple H likes Bruno, doesn't want to pull that one out. Hogan, I can kind of see of Triple H being a little like, yeah, let's push him down. But again, the fact that like Hogan is still referenced on WWTV, was literally on WWTV, granted in a video package, but still, you got to make that phone call to put him in that video package. The fact that like he still has a presence and they're celebrating 40 years of Hulkamania, I don't think they want to fully write him out of things.
You're probably right about that. That's a good point with Hogan. I guess it's more me and you and a lot of the fan base is like, it's probably a good idea to rewrite Hogan as much as we can, but that's you're right. I mean, he was as a part of it as recently as the Royal Rumble with his video packages, so that may not be their prerogative, which makes you feel a little bit better about the Cody thing. I mean, for at least that perspective. Gagan in the chat says, I'm going to put it up here, says Sean reported Cody topped the merch sales at the Royal Rumble Superstore, which isn't surprising, but also I had a friend there, Gunner, the best Cody Rhodes collector in the world. He was there, and he always hits me up at these shows and lets me know, what's there. I do the same for him whenever I go. And there was even anything like new for Cody there. There's nothing for either of us to even really buy outside of the Cody wins the Royal Rumble t-shirt that they put out right afterwards, which of course I purchased. But they that's Cody topping the merch sales without even having like that much merch available, it sounded like. So yeah, good for him. Yeah, man. Well, man, I don't know. I'm getting. Oh, sorry about that, everyone. I kicked my microphone and my entire desk on accident.
You're gonna be stressed these next few months. I'm worried.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna be stressed. Well, here's the other scenario that I came up with on Twitter right after the Seth Rollins challenge, which I think is maybe the most likely scenario. This would be my favorite scenario. Cody says, "You know what, Seth? You're right. That is the Workhorse title. I'll take that. I want it. Me and you, night 1 WrestleMania. I'm still wrestling Roman on night 2. I'm winning all of it. I'm fine with that idea." Sorry, everybody. I probably effed everyone's ears up with that. I literally need my desk right under my microphone. That's why that happened. Sorry, guys.
He's going to break that desk if Cody loses. It's going to completely just shatter the desk, shatter the microphone. It's going to be...
I'm a little worried, man. I bought I've talked about it before. Black Friday this year, I bought a everyone wake up this morning with the kicking that microphone. I bought a 75-inch TV on Black Friday, and I'm a little bit worried. Like, the thing's like mounted up on my wall. Like, I'd never be able to move it, but I'm afraid like the wrong thing's gonna happen. I'm like throw my remote through it or something. Like, I gotta keep. People are gonna have to restrain me if Cody loses this match. Gunner's even been texting me like, "Hey man, there's no way they do Seth and Cody, right? Like, we're all the Cody Rhodes support team is like we all got each other's backs right now, and it's a lot of copium right now. We're all trying to like convince ourselves there's no way they're gonna screw Cody out of this again this year, right? But they're giving us all these reasons to think that it might happen.
I don't think it's gonna be Seth and Cody again. They haven't gone to that story. That story doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Seth is trying. They're trying to do something with him. And they're trying to do something with him because CM Punk is hurt. He tore his tricep, taking the Future Shock DDT. He finished the match. Credit to him, finishing the Rumble.
Yep.
Got eliminated by Cody, then came out the next night or 2 nights later on Raw. Said WrestleMania is not in the cards for him. Not going to make it. Not going to get a chance to finish his story and main event WrestleMania. And then Drew came out and said, "I prayed for your downfall. I'm glad you're injured. You're weak. This is what you deserve." And then he beat him up some more. Like, the plan, from what I can tell, from what was on television, was going to be Seth and Punk. That made the most sense. Now they got to pivot to something else with Seth. Maybe it's going to be Seth and Gunther. Maybe it's going to be Seth and Drew. I think that's the best case scenario, Seth and Drew, because I think Drew is doing incredible work right now. But Drew's contract is also a thing. Drew is reportedly still not re-signed, and his contract's up after WrestleMania at some point. So you'd probably want to get him under a deal before you put him in this big match. Where do you think this is going, and your overall thoughts on the CM Punk injury? I know you did not wish for this injury. I know you're not taking a victory lap that CM Punk is injured again. But are you going to be a hater like Drew? You used to be like, yeah, used to pray for times like these.
No, I'm not going to sit there and prayed for, because to be completely honest, it is going to sound very selfish, but like CM Punk staying healthy actually helps my motives for Cody and stuff. Like and also Seth versus Punk is actually a match I was interested in. Like, it's not like I didn't want to see that. You know what I mean? So like, no, we were all robbed of the whole. I mean, CM Punk literally came back to the company after 10 years. Royal Rumble, number 27. I mean, everything just like lined up, and it was all so he can come back and headline night one of WrestleMania against Seth Rollins, and it's all just none of it's going to happen. And that's no matter how you feel about CM Punk. I mean, that's gotta suck if you're him. I mean, that's gotta suck so hard. But I really wish Drew. I mean, he didn't say it in these exact terms, but that promo was basically fragile ego, fragile body, weak mind, weak spirit. You know, that was the John Moxley. That's what John Moxley said about CM Punk. And that was basically the vibe I got out of the Drew McIntyre promo with CM Punk on Monday. I mean, but the way he set it all up, and him talking about like, he's like, back when you were here before, you were a dick. I didn't like you. You're a cancer to this locker room. I prayed for that to happen to you. It's like, damn, dude. That's, I mean, and how much of that is real feelings? You know what I mean? Like that, you know? And I think there's probably at least a little truth to him feeling like that. Also, I definitely got a kick out of CM Punk bringing up his UFC run. I obviously caught that line. He gave himself a lot more credit than he deserves on 4, which is kind of funny too. He said, y'all saw my UFC run. Not great. That's an understatement for sure. But at least he has, you know, acknowledged it on television. We can now even I can get past it. I think. All right, he's brought it up to the audience at least. Y'all choose your own adventure and do your research on that if you want to. But yeah, I mean, no matter who you are and how you feel about certain people and stuff, for anybody to have a 10-year journey like CM Punk had of getting his ass kicked in the UFC, of going to AEW and how that turned out, of the fan base chanting his name for a decade, of the stuff between him and Colt Cabana and the legal stuff with him in the WWE and all this stuff that's happened over the last 10 years for this guy, for him to finally come back and finally be in the position where it's like, all right, we are heading to WrestleMania. You're the one thing you've never gotten in this industry is the main event of WrestleMania. It's the one thing that you want, and it's about to happen. And now you can't have it again. That would just suck so bad, no matter who you are. And people are like, well, you know, he's going to be back in like 4 to 6 months. The last triceps took like 9 months for him.
I think that was partial also suspension, because I think he was probably healthier before Collision. Because, yeah, the injury occurred in September, and then he didn't come back until June. But I think he was healthier before that. It's just the Collision date wasn't official until June, and then they weren't going to bring him back until they had Collision because they couldn't bring him back for Dynamite because, you know, reasons.
Right. He created his own show for him, so he had to work.
Yeah. So I wouldn't read too much into it. Took this long last time, so it's going to take this long this time.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I forgot about the suspension aspect of that. But regardless, I don't see him back for WrestleMania. They made it pretty clear that that's not going to be happening. And I mean, listen, I don't want to sit here and kick the guy while he's down, but just in the last few years, the foot injury, the other triceps, this triceps, he's 45 years old. And once again, regardless of how I feel about his UFC run, he's still legitimately trained for the better part of a decade at Rufus Sport with the Pettis brothers, with, you know, Tyron Woodley, with with really good fighters. Like, he was in there getting beat up all the time. Like, he got that puts a lot of wear on your body, training MMA like that with legitimate fighters. I mean, and here's the thing, I rag on CM Punk's UFC career all the time. I was one of the worst amateur wrestlers ever. Like, I was not good at amateur wrestling. I rarely ever won. But like, just because you're not getting W's on the mat or whatever doesn't mean you're not going through those same practices everybody else is. And like, you're getting worn down, your body's getting worn down. It's even worse on you because you're losing. You're having to fight off your back. You're getting pinned. You're struggling. That was probably CM Punk his entire UFC run training. Like, this dude is probably always injured to some degree. I mean, actually, I can promise you he is, because I pick up on it. I'm sure other people do. When he isn't wrestling, he has a limp. Like, there's something up with his either one or two of his knees or his hip for sure. And it's okay. You can get around that. Like like, before he actually wrestles, I'm sure he does a lot of stretches and the adrenaline, and like he moves a lot differently. Just like there's professional athletes, even and a lot of professional wrestlers that sometimes they have trouble like getting in and out of cars, just like bending certain ways. But then like once you stretch enough and you get going and you get loose, you can go out there and wrestle. But like in your everyday life, like you're kind of locked up. I've heard that about John Moxley. I've heard there's certain things that there's like difficult, like certain like just like motion, like range of motion stuff that he has a really hard time with, like when he's not wrestling. But you wouldn't know it when he's in the ring because he goes out there prepared. But like, so I think that CM Punk is always dealing with injuries, and he's 45. And if you can't take a simple DDT, you know, I get that it's a little different because his arms were out and he's like planted his arm wrong or something. But like, I feel like just like in AEW, you can't, like, you can make certain plans for CM Punk, but I feel like you can't have like these huge long-term plans because he gets injured way too often. So it's like, I mean, I don't think that's even like rude or out of pocket for me to make that assessment. By the way, like I think everyone can agree, whether you love CM Punk or you hate CM Punk, like it's hard. It's a tough look when you're 45 and you get hurt this often. You know,
it's true that he's 45, 46, I think, even or it might be 46 this year. Tough run of injuries, basically ever since he won the AEW world title. Everything prior to that, great. Everything since that, not so great. Whether it's the foot injury, brawl out, brawl in, triceps injury, another triceps injury. There's been a lot that's happened since he won the AEW world title. But yeah, it is tough to make long-term plans when the guy is getting hurt. And that's a reality when you're 46, you've been wrestling all these years, and you're not wrestling consistently either. Like that's Gage Singh says same thing happened with Danielson. He was hurt on an elbow drop. That's denying age is catching up, but it's also bad luck. Some of it is bad luck, but Danielson
also has a lot of those years and miles too. Like he's always hurt also. Like, I mean, like that both of them are in the same boat, I think, in a lot of ways. Yeah.
And Punk's, 10 years older than Danielson.
Right. And Danielson's made it clear like this is his last year full term, like probably because of the injuries. You know what I mean?
How old's Danielson? Danielson is 42. I don't know why I said 10 years older. That was for some reason I thought Danielson was a lot younger. And Punk's 45, not 46. So 3 years older. But yeah, Danielson has that same kind of wear and tear, hard road. Punk took 10 years off, but he did do MMA for a portion of that. That's going to beat up your body, as you mentioned. I also think not wrestling consistently doesn't help him because, how many times do you hear wrestlers say, like, yeah, I want to be consistent because then your body gets calloused to all of this stuff. You get back in the ring that first time you haven't been in the ring, it starts to hurt because even though you've been wrestling for years, if you haven't wrestled for a while, that first bump just hurts because your body has to readjust to like taking that bump again. And that's, Punk hadn't wrestled a whole lot. So when he first came back, he was wrestling consistently, and then he broke his foot on a jump into the crowd, and then he wasn't wrestling consistently after that. And now he's had these, this was his first televised match since being back in this company. It was the third match since being back. He had the 2 house show matches against Dom, which is fine, but those are short, kind of nothing matches. He's older, and these injuries are going to happen, but it does make it very tough to kind of do a long-term thing when you're wondering, oh, when is that injury going to happen next? But at the same time, you gotta, when he does come back, you gotta strike on things because you don't know when that injury is going to happen. So if Drew's there, you got to strike on the Drew match. If he can maintain to WrestleMania, you got to go ahead and strike on whatever the big WrestleMania match is. You don't know if you're going to get a next year WrestleMania with him.
Yes, and I agree with all that. And I also think it's good for Drew. Like, if he's going to stay with the company, they have that built in. Like, that's a big return for Punk to go after Drew. They set it up with Drew attacking his arm. And I'm assuming that Drew McIntyre is going to stay with the WWE. That's my gut feeling, for sure. I think he'd do great in AEW. I'm a huge Drew McIntyre fan. I've given him all the credit in the world for what he did during the pandemic with that title, and he's gotten nothing but better since then. Like right now, he's the best he's ever been. These memes on X are hilarious. These like Jordynne memes and stuff he's putting out on Punk, they're hilarious because it's one of two things. Either he actually 100% feels that way, and like this is burning up at Punk having to see this, because what's CM Punk gonna do? This is a lot different than being in AEW and attacking the Young Bucks and Jungle Boy. Like you're dealing with a different type of species when you're looking up at Drew McIntyre, who's twice your size. But I also think that there's got to be a level of respect there with one another, and Punk is in on what's going on. Like they're building something on TV. I doubt it's just completely vindictive. Like it's completely, McIntyre just, I'd imagine there's some sort of agreement there. But if there isn't, that's pretty hilarious because Punk's probably mauling over it if he has no say in this. But they left it open. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know if like Punk is like, yeah, do this, do that. I do think that Punk is okay with it or understands the game of it, and so Drew is gonna lean in to all of it because it's wrestling, it's a work, as long as both guys are relatively clued in on the work. Punk, I don't think it's gonna be an AEW situation where he's just gonna keep seeing these memes and then he's gonna go scorched earth on the whole company, and certainly not Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, there's no. I mean,
you're waiting for that, just like Punk trying to step up to Drew McIntyre.
I won't name any names. Remember, we talked to an indie guy once who did some extra work at AEW. He said CM Punk kind of sized him up backstage, and he was like, "If I kick his ass right now, I'll get signed somewhere." I won't mention who it was.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it was off the record. I won't mention who that was, but we talked to a guy. Anyway, that I'll leave it at that for now. I once again, I'm not going to pile on. I hope that people understand by now, like with me, that I'm not. You can have your own opinions of me as like a wrestling fan and a Cody mark and all this stuff. As a matter of fact, I enjoy the comments. I love when people have seen the show for like the first time and they comment about like me being a giant mark. I respond to those comments. I hardly ever respond to comments, but I'll respond to those. So if people are in the comments and you hate me, I'll definitely see it, and I'm not going to stop you from doing it. I won't delete any of the comments. I'll leave them there. The last guy called me a mark, and I asked if he meant if he was talking about Mark Calloway, professionally known as the Undertaker, or Mark Carrano. I wasn't sure what Mark he was talking about. And he never answered me, unfortunately. But I hope you guys understand by now. Like I'm not wishing injury on CM Punk. I'm not wishing like serious things to happen to people. Like I didn't want this. I wanted CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. I want Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. I want no reason to think that Seth Rollins is going to wrestle Cody at WrestleMania. So I stand with the CM Punk fans from that perspective of like I wish he was on WrestleMania. I wish he was main eventing WrestleMania against Seth Rollins this year for a lot of reasons. And I'm not happy that he's hurt. That sucks no matter who you are to be in that spot right now.
We got some super chats. Tommy Maynard always here saying shout out to the best show on Fightful. We appreciate you, Tommy. Thank you. And then a couple things sort of on topic, sort of off topic. But Andy says Drew Seth career versus title and Braun on undefeated streak makes it next gen versus the perfect wrestler Gunther, replaces Punk and Brock in terms of drama, confidence in Cody faces Reigns and wins. Drew versus Seth title versus career is interesting because I do think if you do Drew versus Seth, assuming Drew is resigned, obviously, Drew should win that match. I think he can't lose to Seth again. They've already had him lose to him too many times. And I do think Drew, getting his moment in front of fans, but he's the bad guy now is a cool little story. And then Braun Breaker reportedly got the Brock Lesnar spot at the Rumble. And I don't know if he's going to fully get the Brock Lesnar spot moving forward, but if he does, that's, him and Gunther would be something. And I like it. I think at some point you gotta make a guy. Yeah. And Braun Breaker is a guy you could very easily make. And they did their best to make him at the Rumble, but it's wasted if he's just back in NXT. He's at Vengeance Day on Sunday and part of the Dusty Classic, but I would have no problem him coming up and facing Gunther and honestly beating Gunther for the title.
Maggie just DM'd me something I think is pretty funny. She thinks that I'm enjoying this Punk stuff. I'm not. I'm not happy he's injured. I promise you. She's like,
Smile says otherwise, Jensen.
I'm not happy he's hurt. I promise you guys, I'm not happy. I'm not happy that anyone gets hurt. I want to make that really clear. I just think the whole thing is just like incredibly ironic, and it's really more like the Punk fans. And I'm like, when he got signed to WWE, how many of us, including myself, were like, just wait, he will get hurt. I mean, he kept getting hurt in AEW. Like, this is probably going to happen. It's just like, I kind of saw it coming, but I didn't want that to happen. But no, I agree with everything about that super chat. I think that a Braun Breaker would be the right guy, probably. I mean, you can really make a new star by having Braun Breaker beat Gunther at WrestleMania for that Intercontinental title. They did a great job with him at the Royal Rumble, like you said. My only nitpick is they got like 5 people on the roster doing spears as like finishes and stuff. Like, maybe change that up a little bit.
No, they better tell everybody else to change up their spear, because his spear looks better than all of them.
Yeah, Braun's the best. Braun's the best. Oh, Maggie said, wait, I just told you to tell your face. Oh,
yeah, your face does say something different than your words.
Oh, come on. Come on, guys. Do people really think that I'm that messed up?
No, I don't think anybody really thinks that.
Really, a lot of time when I'm smiling, it's kind of coping too, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, they're gonna screw over Cody, aren't they? I think that y'all are seeing that on my face. Honestly, is like, as I'm talking about this, I'm like, this is gonna screw up Cody. Just watch. But anyways, yeah, we'll see. We're not going to talk about the Brock Lesnar stuff, but like, I think it's probably pretty smart if like he's not going to be on TV. Braun Breaker's, you know what I mean? You can kind of plug and play with that a little bit and be like, well, he's pretty similar in certain ways, like presentation wise. Like, you make like a new animal, a new beast kind of character out of Braun Breaker right away and pretty much give him that spot. I think that makes sense. They've been wanting to make Braun Breaker a guy for a long time. Kind of a coincidence that, like, you know, the timing's just really good as far as for Braun, where it's like, okay, well, they might not have had these plans right now to do this, but like, now is the time to pull the trigger, and he's the right guy to do it, probably. So
Tommy saying CM Punk hits pedigree. Can y'all believe I did that? Yes, Phil. Yes, we can. Used to do it from the top rope every night 20 years ago. Sure.
Good point.
Sure. And Cody says, does Trick Williams win on Sunday at Vengeance Day? I don't think so. I think Carmelo cost him. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'll say Carmelo cost him also. I haven't watched enough NXT to make like an educated decision on it. Although I do know, I've heard that Trick has gotten Barry over. And,
yeah, he's super over.
And if you guys go back and listen to like old episodes of The Weekender, when Trick Williams started on Level Up, I was even saying back then, because I've always liked Carmelo Hayes. I knew about him as Christian Casanova on the Indies. And he's always been like really talented. But I was even saying on The Weekender, like just as recently as maybe like, or as long back as maybe a couple of years ago, when I saw the two of them together, I was like, Trick Williams will probably be the one. Like, everyone's kind of talking about Carmelo right now, but Trick, with his size and everything, his charisma, like once he puts it together, he's going to be massive. And like, it looks like that's what's happening. So I'm glad. I think both guys have super bright futures, Carmelo and Trick. But I don't think that Trick. The other thing is, I love Ilya Dragunov. So like, it's kind of a win-win scenario for me as a fan.
I don't want people to think we are ignoring everything that happened with Vince, the lawsuit, and stepping down. I've done multiple shows talking about it. So people, again, I've been on In the Weeds Friday, In the Weeds Monday. We spent basically those entire shows talking about that. But Jensen, if you did wanted to comment on anything, again, I don't want anybody to think that like, oh, like
we're not ducking it.
Yeah, we're gonna be positive, everybody. Like, it's not a story you ignore. Like,
right,
some horrible shit.
When I don't want to take away from like the wrestlers that have anything to do with this, or from like the negative side, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want this to be a giant black cloud on everything that that you love about the WWE. You know what I mean? And this is coming from somebody who's, I mean, I'm defending the WWE right now. Like, that's kind of crazy. I'm not even like I rarely ever really watch the product anymore. But like, I'll say, as far as like the Vince stuff, I'll make it pretty short because I know we have other stuff to talk about. But like, I think it kind of goes without saying. Obviously, he had to go. Like, duh. Vince, like, if even one of the 1,000 things he's being accused of, even if one of those things is true, he's done. And we know about what, like $2 to $3 million worth of, like, now, like, the 15 million or whatever he's paid out. Like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And if there's anyone else, including Triple H, that was involved in this, that knew about this, they need to go too. If I was the WWE, honestly, I'd probably wipe myself of anything that had to do with the McMahon family. Honestly, if it was me, that includes Triple H. And I think that the way the Triple H handled the press conference was terrible. I give massive credit, not that they need it from me, but I give massive credit to John Alba, to Cam Hawkins, to Brandon Thurston, to these guys who asked Triple H the questions that are, I mean, the questions that needed to be asked. And the fact that Triple H didn't even have, like, the fact that he claimed he hadn't even read the lawsuit that's insane. If I was Nick Khan and I heard that, he'd be gone that night, because it's like, either you're lying, which is there's no way he hasn't read it, or a lawyer hasn't. I mean, he's all over it. His wife's his father-in-law, is the grandfather to his kids. Like, there's no way he's ignorant to what's going on. So, I mean, if you can't talk about it, you need to have an answer more along the lines of, like, I'm very aware of what you're talking about. We are looking into it. We're doing everything we can to make sure people are safe as information comes in, but, like, it's being handled, like, you got to say something other than, well, it's the greatest week in company history, and, the gate's great, and the merch sales are great, and Cody's the face of the company, and Jordynne Grace came in, and TNA relationship, and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but the biggest news ever happened, and it's your father-in-law. What do you, like? You're just gonna have to have him. So I mean, I can't sit here and say Triple H was involved or he knew anything about it. If he's innocent, I don't want him gone. If he's innocent, I don't think that's fair to him. But my thing is, when Stephanie was coming and going from that company the way that she was, based on, like, when Vince was around and when he wasn't, there's no way possible that you haven't asked your wife at least once, like, what's going on? Why do you keep leaving? Like, what's like, why are you leaving this company? Why does it involve Vince? Why are we not voting this guy back in? Blah, blah, blah. So I don't want to get too heated on that. And actually, we talked about it quite a bit on the Weekender. So if you want more thoughts on this, I did address it for about 20 minutes or so on the Weekender. Okay. But that's honestly how I feel about it. Like, I feel like probably everybody else does. Like, if Vince absolutely had to go, Laurinaitis, done. If Brock's involved, done. Any other wrestlers that were involved, done. Any higher-ups that were involved, done. There's no place for it in the WWE. And the fact that Cody had to answer that question, I'm not going to sit here and pile on to Nick Hausman, but that wasn't Cody's question to have to answer to begin with. And he answered it way better than Triple H did. That's pathetic.
I do think the way Nick asked it was fair to Cody.
I agree. But I don't think it was fair to ask. I don't think that was Cody should have had to even. That's not his question to have to answer. But he is one of the few people that has the EVP experience, and he's known Vince for a long time, and he's the head of the locker room at this point. And I understand from that perspective. But once again, like, the fact that Cody could answer the question to some degree and Triple H couldn't, that's pretty telling to me.
Yeah. Will says, is it safe to say Trick and Mello is 2024 HBK Kevin Nash, like how HBK was the guy, but Nash got over like crazy, like how Mello was the guy, Trick is crazy over? I think that was the dynamic they were always going for with those two. And now they're really playing this out, slow burning it, because I feel like this should have wrapped up a while ago. I think and assume it'll wrap up on Sunday. We shall see on that. Guys, if you guys want my thoughts on all the Vince stuff, again, I've done about 4 hours talking about it on other platforms on another show, so you can watch that. I echo a lot of what Jensen said, though.
Is there anything that you disagree with that you think I'm out of pocket on?
No. We had John Alba on the show on Monday to talk about kind of Triple H's answers, the media role and things like that. I've said, like, whoever knew has to go. People, I talked about Triple H's answers, everything that he's alleged doing is horrific and disgusting. And there's no place in that WWE, any place, like, this stuff should not happen. And it's a shame that a powerful man held this over this woman and took advantage of her. because she was clearly based on the allegations, not in a good spot after everything that happened to her, and she was preyed upon. And, I've listened to her lawyer speak about things as well. None of it's good. And we will see what happens moving forward with everything. I hope this continues to get pressured. Slim Jim's pulled out, and that's when they were like, okay, well, Vince is gone. And then Slim Jim got back in. It's like, all right, you did something, but are we going to see more? Is this going to continue? I hope it does. I hope people really get taken to task over this and we learn more. I don't want to learn so much more about the details because they're honestly, again, horrific.
Yeah.
But I don't want this to just be, oh, they've settled, she got a bunch of money, moving on, because that's kind of what happened the first time. And then now all of this has come out. So I hope people really, really pay for this. The people who knew, the people who never said anything. And I was trying to be fair to some of the staff. I can understand if you are a camera person and you're shown these pictures, why you don't say anything. You were probably in fear of your job the same way she was in fear of things. Obviously, much worse situation that happened to her. I'm just talking about the fear aspect of things. You're low on the totem pole, and Vince is bragging about this kind of stuff. You might not want to say anything because oh, I'm going to get fired over this. I don't want to get fired over this. Yeah. I get that. I'm not saying those people are right. I can get the fear aspect of that. But that still means if they knew, they have to go. Sorry. Anybody who didn't speak up probably has to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. We're on the same page for sure.
Couple things. Tommy saying I don't see Brock coming back. I don't either. Honestly, I don't
either. Unless there's some wild change in evidence or the story or something. I which I don't expect. I don't think Brock will be back.
Yeah. And Andy says picking Seth over Reigns makes Cody looks like a coward. No, yes, 100%. That's why I don't think he's going to do it.
Yeah, and it makes 100%. Yeah, be ready.
And Tommy also says Cody chooses Reigns to redeem the WWE title from what Roman has done. Wins the belt for his family, is defended often for the prestige and fans. That's the point that I made on Monday or Wednesdays in the Weeds. Is okay, Seth is saying this is the Hollywood title. This is the title they politic and blah 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 blah. Okay, that's how Roman is using it. That doesn't mean that's how Cody is going to use the title. Cody can win it and defend it and make it the workhorse title. Just because this man uses it like this has no bearing on what this man is going to do.
Yes, he's got to bring back that winged eagle. He's kind of teased that. So
yeah, yes. All right, let's go to the AEW spotlight.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. It was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
Last night's show ended with Swerve Strickland defeating Rob Van Dam in a hardcore match. The match was picked by Hangman Page in the Dealer's Choice match. And then it was announced Swerve and Hangman 3 for next week. They're loading up next week's show. Jensen, they got Swerve and Hangman 3. They got Sting and Darby challenging for the tag team titles. And they got Tony Khan with a big announcement. But Swerve and Hangman 3, the winner, gets a shot at Samoa Joe and the AEW World title at Revolution. What are you thinking on this one?
So, big Dynamite coming up. We'll have a lot to talk about next Thursday. I'm going to say for Swerve and Hangman 3, man, I feel like Swerve's got to win. The momentum has been, storyline-wise, you would think it'd be Hangman because he's down 2-0. But the crowd wants Swerve. Swerve's made it clear, and he's made it clear even specifically, he wants to be the first black AEW champion. And obviously Hangman can't accomplish that. So it's I think that I just feel like you got to go Swerve. And you don't want the momentum to fade either. People stop believing in him because he loses or something. I don't know. I feel like my mind, wrestling wise, is thinking Hangman because it's match 3 and he's lost twice, and Hangman still is one of the top people in that company, and I could see him becoming the AEW World Champion again. I think it would make sense depending on how they do it, but I personally, my heart, I guess, is like, you got this opportunity with Swerve. I would keep this momentum going. I'd have Swerve win.
Dave saying time limit draw, which is possible. We had another Black Tom says time limit draw. So a couple time limit draw votes. I could see that. It'd be a half hour, which is obviously more doable than a hour, considering all they've announced for this show, because they've, again, pretty stacked this show next week. I could see them doing a time limit half hour draw, and then you get a triple threat match. I've always thought that triple threat match was the way to go. And they're not going to do the WWE trope of, hey, here's an interference. Now it's a triple threat match because, we never got a winner type of thing. I think time limit draw could make sense from that perspective. If they get a winner, if they get a winner, then I'm leaning towards it being Hangman, just because I don't know if he's going to lose 3 straight to Swerve. I have a tough time thinking he's going to lose 3 to Swerve, but I'm not against it, mind you. Maybe Swerve's just that guy he can't beat. And this is where I think the time limit draw can actually come into play. You do a triple threat match, Hangman pins Joe to win the title, and then Swerve's the immediate first challenger, and then is like, okay, you didn't beat me in that singles match. We went to a draw. You didn't pin me at this pay-per-view. You pinned Joe. You still can't beat me. Like, I still got you. And then you can do Swerve and Hangman. It's almost a transitional thing for Hangman, which I can understand people not fully liking. Or maybe Hangman is the guy who he beats Swerve in that title match. And Swerve, unfortunately for him, might just have to wait. I think that might be a mistake because he's got a lot of momentum and he's really over right now. But I don't know. Like, they got Ospreay coming in. They got potentially Okada coming in. You got guys in line who are going to be at that top of that card.
Yeah. And I like all the scenarios you just laid out. I think that I'm sold on the idea of a triple threat now. I think that's actually, I hadn't even considered that. I think you had brought that idea up before on the show. But yeah, however they get to that, maybe time limit draw is the right way to do that. You get to a triple threat, and then whenever Swerve becomes the champion again, or if Hangman ever wins the title again, you have it built in where it's like you're saying, like the third match, there was never really a winner. So you kind of have a little meat on the bone left for, like, if one of them has the title, to revisit that as a title match that people will be really invested in already because of their history. So I'm going to go with that, actually. That's going to be my prediction now. I think it will be a time limit draw of some kind. Like, it will time limit draw, some sort of finish where, like, both guys wind up in the triple threat. And then just really quickly, because you mentioned it, I think Sting and Darby will win the tag titles also.
Yeah. I think that's almost a foregone conclusion that Sting and Darby are winning the tag team titles. That they're not going to have Sting and Darby lose before Sting's last match, unless Sting's going to win his last match, which I don't think he is. I think Young Bucks are going to win the titles.
And also just shout out RVD, still looking great out there against Swerve last night. Hardcore match, very much ECW, very right up his alley. It was kind of random that we were way off on our. Well, totally on we weren't that off on. We chose Brian Cage.
Once Hangman said on Saturday, like, I'm going to make you wait for the whole effing show. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's Van Dam.
Right. But, like, on Thursday, we were like, that wasn't even on our radar.
No.
But no, it worked out good. I'm still a Rob Van Dam fan, so good to see him out there.
It's on a spotlight, but do you have any thoughts on Tony Khan's big announcement, since our next show, the announcement will have been made?
No, I have no idea. I don't even want to speculate.
I think it's Mercedes. Not we've signed Mercedes. Like, they're going to announce a big event to basically tell you it's Mercedes. Very similar to Punk. Their events schedule is not filled at all. They're going to announce a big show in Boston and call it March Monet or something, just to basically be like, hey, wink, nod, it's Mercedes. That's what I think it is. Yeah,
that's a good guess.
That's what a lot of people have said. This is not like reinventing the wheel. But if you followed me and you've been paying attention to all the shows that I've been on, I've been saying this for a while now. I've been saying this for a while of how the Mercedes debut was going to come together. My AEW spotlight is the trios elimination cage match on Saturday's AEW Collision between FTR, Daniel Garcia, and House of Black. I thought this match was fantastic. Got very much lost in the shuffle because of everything going on in WWE. But if you've not watched this, I thought it was the best match from the weekend. Certainly better than anything on the Rumble. And I really love what they're doing with Daniel Garcia. That's a guy who can be a star for them, and for him to win this match in the way he did, to not carry FTR, but hopefully people understand what I mean when I say that. I think you got to go really full bore with Daniel Garcia in the coming months and put a title on him or something. Right now, like all the faces, all the champions are like faces, all the singles champions. But I love what they're doing with Garcia. What do you think of this match?
Yeah, this was awesome. The finish, especially with like Julia Hart.
Julia missed it. Garcia.
Yeah. And it was smart with the because like the end, there's like the two tables on the outside, and I'm trying to remember who all, because I watched this the other day. Like someone, maybe it was I can't remember. Someone from FTR goes through the first table. Two people, they're both on that, like they're both on the outside of the cage. And the idea was it was Garcia and someone in the ring still.
Malachi.
But someone was on the outside of the cage, like trying to climb back in.
Oh, Buddy.
Yes. Yeah. That's I was getting with 6 people. I was trying to remember who was where. So Buddy, it was smart because Buddy was going to try to climb back in the cage to make it 2-on-1. So it'd be easier for House of Black to just leave together. And when he went up, that's when he got thrown into, and he also went through the table. Garcia's face covered in the mist was like a really cool visual. And them getting the win was big too. Like, the celebration and everything. I think that, I've said it before. I was a big fan of Daniel Garcia's indie run for sure, and everything he was doing on IWTV and everything pre-AEW. So I've been one of those like push Daniel Garcia guys since the second he showed up. I thought he should have been in the Combat Club and everything, but I liked where he's at now, and the fans seem to be behind him. So I'm with you 100% on that assessment as well. Like Daniel Garcia should definitely be one of their guys for the future, or even the present. Like he's already like there. So
I'm Jeff Valley Driver says I thought I would hate the stipulation. They actually made it work. They did, because escape the cage is tough, especially elimination style. And I do think this is where they not fumbled it, but like I think it was Dax who was like exiting, and then Brody King like launched himself into Dax, and then they both ended up being knocked off the cage. Like, just let them leave, and then you got 3-on-2, and then you just beat up I would have just thrown Cash outside too, and be like, now it's 3-on-1, and now we can just easily beat up Garcia and then just escape it ourselves. We'll just all leave together, and that'll be that. It is tough to do like an elimination escape the cage deal like that, because why wouldn't you just let your opponent leave and then you have the numbers advantage? But they did the best they could with it.
Yeah, I agree. And that's just an overall kind of like concept, almost like error. Like I understand the drama in like climbing the cage and trying to escape the cage and stuff. Like that's the whole point. But realistically speaking, the cage should be there to keep people from, like, you kind of look like a coward when you're trying to leave the match. Like it's kind of backwards. So when you have 6 people doing it, but like you said, I think the way that they booked it worked out really well. It was a great match.
Yeah. Couple super chats. Tommy Manager says Joe, and he also says, could Hangman win, lose to Joe, and Hangman and Swerve goes best of 7? Seems to me that they want Joe as champ for a while, keep the animosity burning. I wouldn't burn through 7 Hangman and Swerve matches. Like they're already doing 3 in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, in like 8 months or so, given when that first one was. First one was Wrestle Dream. That was October, November, December, January, February, 5 months. So less than that. Yeah, they're doing 3 matches in 5 months. I wouldn't go through another 7 matches. That's a long-term feud that you don't need to go through quickly like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Kazuchika Okada officially a free agent. Jensen, you think he's going to WWE?
Oh man, it makes you think that with like the whole Pro Wrestling Tees store shutting down.
Yeah, they did that with Jay White though.
Yeah, they did. And like there's still like CM Punk still has one. I think there's another WWE guy that might still have one.
It's a New Japan thing. It's simply just New Japan. Yeah. They can't sell New Japan merchandise, so he's out of New Japan. So that's why that portion is shutting down. It's all a New Japan thing, guys. Don't read too much into it.
The only thing, if I'm anyone, this goes for Okada or anyone else, I would kind of want to see how things play out with the whole management and WWE stuff for a minute before like I want to sign, because I want to know like who's going to be in charge, like what's actually going on over there and stuff like that. But like if that wasn't a factor, I would personally like to see Okada probably in WWE, just because like I think in AEW he'd had the best matches like consistently, and like it would, like as a wrestling fan I would love to see that, but just because of like what he became in New Japan, like arguably the top star in that company's history, if presented correctly on WWE television, he could be just like this massive, international star that he just wouldn't be able to be in AEW. And I just think it'd be interesting to see him get that opportunity and see if they actually went all the way with him. So as like a wrestling purist fan, I'd rather see him in AEW because of the match like catalog I think he put together. But given where he is in his career and what I think they could do with him in the WWE, it's similar to Jade Cargill in like certain ways, where like I think the main reason Jade went to WWE is because she wants to be a bigger star, not just in wrestling, but like in everything. She just wants to be a star. And if that's what Okada wants, that's WWE's the place to do that. So my gut feeling is that he's going to WWE, even though he already has a relationship with Tony and AEW. But I think it'd be, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I waffle on this a lot because I think it's most likely he actually goes to AEW, but like I selfishly in this weird way want to see how he'd do in the WWE.
I think he's going to AEW. I'm with you though. I'm always more curious as to what people look like in a different system. We've seen him in AEW. I generally know what that looks like, and it's not bad. He's going to have great matches. He's going to be presented well. He's going to be treated well. I'm very curious of like what he actually looks like in WWE and how they present him and how they treat him. Like, do they almost go with like a Nakamura presentation? I'm talking Nakamura like NXT presentation when he first came in, but on the grand WWE scale, because Triple H seems to appreciate that more than Vince did. Or do they do something different? It'd be the same thing. And people don't think like, oh, well, you just want him to go to WWE because he hasn't been there, whatever. Drew McIntyre is reportedly possibly going to be a free agent. I'd like to see him in AEW because I would like to see what that presentation looks like. I'm always going to be of the mind of like, I want to see this guy in a different system. I know what he looks like here. I don't know what he looks like there. I want to see what he looks like there. I think that's more fun, at least for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I think it's a win-win for everyone, whether he winds up in AEW or WWE. It's Okada. It's just cool to see him do just a change of scenery. Like we've seen him a little bit in AEW, like you mentioned, but it's wild that he's actually leaving New Japan after all these years and in the position he's had. So he deserves a credit for that, because that takes balls also. Like he's in a position for life as like their guy and walked away from that. So I mean, that's the thing. The last time he went and tried to, this was years ago and it was not really his choice, but I mean, we're not going to forget the whole TNA excursion experience. I mean, Obviously that's not going to happen to him now, but it's just like the last time he tested the waters, it went the opposite of good. But I think now, obviously, he's going to have the negotiating power and stuff too, to like, he's going to be able to choose a good spot for himself, I think. And whoever company gets him is going to be very, very happy with it, I'm sure.
The other spotlight, Jordynne Grace, TNA Knockouts champion, entered the Royal Rumble. She was number 5. She lasted about just under 20 minutes. Got eliminated by Bianca Belair. What'd you make of Jordynne Grace making a pretty big surprise appearance in the Rumble?
Absolutely loved it. I've been a Jordynne Grace fan forever. The first time I saw her wrestle was in the Nashville Fairgrounds. This was probably like 2018 or something. And I remember back then, even I was just very impressed with like her strength, her agility. And since then, she's had this whole like transformation physically, and like she's just super inspiring and super impressive. I've been calling for her to become the world champion in TNA for a while, or Impact before it rebranded. Like I don't want to see her even as just the Knockouts champion. The Knockouts championship's a great title, but she's held it multiple times. Like, and I think she has all the tools to be the world champion. If Tessa Blanchard had the tools to be the world champion, absolutely Jordynne Grace does. And that's how highly I think of Jordynne. Like, she's world champion material regardless of gender. And to see her in the Royal Rumble was awesome. And she fit like a glove with those women. Like, she came out and she looked like she belonged there. And she absolutely does. And same with Jade. We didn't mention Jade as the spotlight, but like, Jade basically scoop slammed Nia Jax with one arm out of the ring. I mean, no matter who you are and who you're doing, like, that is so impressive to be able to do that. Like, so I love seeing the debuts in the Women's Rumble, but specifically Jordynne Grace. Like, I didn't see that coming because I was able to stay pretty much spoiler free on the Rumble. So when she came out, I heard the siren, and I was like, no way. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it leaves the door open potentially for like Ivy Nile and her kind of went face to face. And if like Ivy Nile maybe went to TNA for like a match or something, like, just kind of how Charlie Dempsey went to All Japan, like maybe you can do a little bit. I know Triple H like kind of laughed off the idea of the forbidden door or whatever, but he basically said he's going to try to have a relationship to some degree with some of these companies. I think that Jordynne Grace being on the show opens the door up for certain stuff. And I know Mickie James had done it previously, but like Mickie James had been on WWE TV previously for years and years and years. Jordynne Grace never has. This was a true debut as the TNA champion. So, yeah, I absolutely loved it. I'm a huge Jordynne Grace fan.
You have been touting that Jordynne Grace should win the world championship for a while, for a long time. Viewers, I thought she looked great. I don't think that it's going to lead to much more, if I'm being honest. I don't think it'd be cool if they did like some type of tag team match at the very least, because you're going to get into the political thing of like, even if it's Natalya ain't taking a loss in TNA. So a tag team match might make the most sense where Jordynne can team with Natalya to face two people on the Impact roster, and then they win in that way. But I just don't think you're going to see a singles match, because I don't think WWE wants any of their talent, even if they're not big on WWE television, taking a loss on TNA television. Just don't think they want that.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah,
but yeah, love Jordynne. And also, once again, y'all know I love Jade Cargill. I love seeing both those women out there. They both rule.
Indie Spotlight.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Top Dolla, AJ Francis against Joey Janela. This happened at GCW. Look at me on Friday night. What do you think of this match?
Janela won.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what he did though. I remember the match. I remember watching the match.
He put up the door.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Janela and Top Dolla. I mean, Top Dolla, it's good seeing him kind of outside the WWE. He's doing great stuff in TNA. That Joe Hendry stuff I think is hilarious.
He's still ducking me though on a rap battle. I'm trying to rap battle Top Dolla.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, I'd smoke him. That's why he's ducking me.
He's ducking. Well,
yeah.
we gotta blow him up on social media and make that happen. But yeah, I mean, Joey Janela, we talk about it all the time. Like, he's the right guy. Like, if you're fresh off the WWE, or you're like Andrade, like kind of in between, or like whatever, or you're
Ibushi,
or if you're Ricky Morton or PCO or X-Pac, like Janela's going to be that guy. And actually, my biggest takeaway wasn't even the match with Top Dolla itself. It was over the weekend how Janela made it clear that he wants to go after the world championship. And it looks like he might be the guy to dethrone Blake Christian for the GCW title. So I guess I'll say that, like, it's good to see Top Dolla in GCW. I hope he does more in the company going forward, because like he's got good heat and he did good spots. Like he does a spot where he does like the running like face wash like Samoa Joe, but he tumbles over the top rope, like how he like got memed on for tumbling over the top. But he's like incorporating that into an actual move, which I think is really clever. He's leading into it, which I think, that's great.
He has a sense of humor about this.
Yeah, I love that. He seems like a good dude. But yeah, but wait, what did you say he isn't?
No, I said still a coward.
Oh, still a coward. But I also think it's worth keeping y'all's eyes on. Joey Janela is still technically the Extreme Champion in GCW, but that really depends on whether or not he can find his title belt, and that's not even a shoot. Like when he loses the physical belt, like he just doesn't defend the title. When he remembers to bring it to the show, he defends it. I think Janela will probably be the guy to beat Blake Christian eventually for the GCW World Title. That's at least how they're making me feel right now.
And also Effie and Mance Warner was on this show.
That was a no contest. They're gonna keep
they're gonna keep that feud going. But I like the feuds. I like more indie feuds happening on indie television. I know it happens for various promotions. GCW, a lot of times it can just be dream match after dream match, and you get stories kind of lost. Effie and Mance having an actual story, I really like. And Jensen, your indie spotlight is KillDozer winning the ICW American Deathmatch World Championship.
Yes. So KillDozer, also known as Matt Tremont, he defeated, why am I blanking on his name right now? On Hoodfoot. He defeated, and Hoodfoot had been the champion for like the better part of the year, and a better part of a year, I should say. Hoodfoot's a guy who, like, I've watched him for years also, and whether it's like when he was with Paradigm doing like the UWFI style rules matches, like which are way more like MMA based, or just like a straight up wrestling match, or as a tag team with the Lost Boys and those guys. He's always worked really well in any system he's like, or any style of wrestling he's done. But ever since really diving into the deathmatch scene, Hoodfoot has been like, in my opinion, Hoodfoot has been the best. There's arguments that can be made for certain guys, like John Wayne Murdoch's always been way up there and stuff. Tremont and stuff, but like for my money, Hoodfoot's been my favorite deathmatch wrestler over the last year, and KillDozer getting that win over him, and I mean, because KillDozer, it's hard to explain if you haven't been following along, but he's just made this big transformation from Matt Tremont to KillDozer, and him and Cruel are aligned, and now Cruel's got the IWTV Championship, KillDozer's got the ICW American Deathmatch title. So they're becoming more and more powerful, like these like monsters. And KillDozer's finish is a Tongan death grip chokeslam, which is pretty sweet. I've always been a big Ming fan. So, but yeah, I wanted to shout out KillDozer today, new ICW American Deathmatch champion, dethroning Hoodfoot, who had the title for. Let me see if I can find his title. I'm on Cage Match. Let me pull it up. ICW American Deathmatch Championship. Hoodfoot held the title for 301 days. I mean, that's a hell of a run. So KillDozer, just another title to add to the list for Matt Tremont. If you pull up his Cage Match, I mean, it's just all the way down of title belts for years and years and years. So shout out to KillDozer for becoming the ICW American Deathmatch World Champion.
And fans can find that on IWTV.
Yes, IWTV. Use code Fight Talk.
There you go. Jensen, I know you got to run. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yes, I not only got to run and clock in for the shoot job, I got to work overtime today. So I'm going to be nice and exhausted at the end of today. But thanks for watching, everybody. You can follow me on X at FightTalk_, and listen to the Weekender podcast over on FightfulSelect.com. It's every Sunday, sometimes on Mondays. But yeah, Jeremy did the interview this week. He'll tell you all about it, and I'm going to go and get on out of here. Good seeing you, Jeremy. Good seeing chat. Hope y'all have a great Thursday.
Appreciate you as always, Jensen. We will see everybody next week, or Jensen will see everybody next week. I'll be back on all these other channels throughout the week. Guys, let's get into the creator spotlight. I had the opportunity to speak with Tom Lawlor. Tom Lawlor from MLW. He's going to be in action during the MLW TV tapings for Super Fight this weekend against Matthew Justice. Really fun interview with Tom. We did just over 20 minutes. Tom Lawlor is a guy who I've been a fan of for a while, from his MMA days when he was doing the fun entrances in MMA and on Ultimate Fighter and everything. So there we go, everybody. In the creator spotlight, Tom Lawlor. Welcome everyone to the creator spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert, and I am joined today by a name you know, a man who's been on the channel a few times. He's usually talking to that other guy, Sean Ross Sapp, but you know, the B squad here on Fightful. Now you're talking with the A team here. He is Filthy Tom Lawlor on behalf of MLW. He's going to be competing this weekend at MLW Super Fight February 3rd. He's taking on Matthew Justice as part of the television tapings. Tom, how you doing, man?
I can't complain. I mean, if I was going to, I'm sure it's not something you want to hear. So I guess for all intents and purposes, good. I've answered that question so many times in my life. I don't even know what to say anymore.
I mean, you do the pod.
Somebody asked me yesterday, and I just said, you know what? Terrible. What? Nah, it's fine.
You do a podcast with Brian all the time. I know you do a lot of interviews and a lot of media. Do you get tired of like the intro is always like, how you doing today, Tom? And you just really want to just be like, you know what? Today's actually kind of sucked, man.
Well, I mean, I understand you have to say something, right? Like there has to be some sort of introduction, some sort of icebreaker. You don't want to make it awkward when you see anyone, whether it's on a podcast or in just day-to-day life. That's usually the first thing you say. So it's natural. So it's more like awkward for me because I don't have a good answer. You know what I mean? I've been asked this question so many times and I still fail 40 years later to have a reasonable answer ready to go every time when I know it's coming. So like, it's more embarrassing for me.
Just go through like your entire day. Just be like, you know what? Today I woke up, ate breakfast, had bacon, had eggs, had a bowl of cereal on the side, did this, did that, and just make it as long as possible going through your entire day. And then maybe people will stop asking, how you doing today? What'd you do today?
Yeah. Be quite monotonous.
The first question I have to ask is earlier this year at the MLW show, your trunks. I noticed that they had a Chuck Liddell look to them. Was that a Chuck Liddell homage, those trunks?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you remember the trunks I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I know exactly because I had to order them and I had to say, hey, I want the Iceman style trunks. If you take a look, the ones that you're mentioning, Josh Bishop was also in that match and he had on some flame styled gear. So we were going back to the old days of the Iceman and the Bad Boy, Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. So
that's on
that
me.
That was the throwback. Now we had multiple people say, hey, I loved your Fire and Ice trunks. And it never once occurred to me. Never once. And I was probably a fan of Fire and Ice, Scott Norton, Ice Train more than most back in the mid 90s. But that was an homage to Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz.
I noticed the Chuck Liddell part of that immediately. That's my favorite fighter. The Ortiz one I missed though. Oh, and I'm mad I missed that because Bishop, he's been on our show a few times, and so I should have immediately recognized that.
Yeah,
That's
he needs a beanie with the flames on it to really go over the top. But he was once known as the Miller Beach Bad Boy in Black Label Pro Wrestling. Apparently Miller Beach is some awful beach up in that area, but he's kind of throwing it back to those days now.
Well, now he's just McStiffy. At least that's what he calls himself out there. My co-host wanted me to ask, he couldn't join us today, but he wanted me to ask, what's it been like working with Josh Bishop and bringing him along to it's kind of a television setting?
Yeah, I've been working with Josh for years, I guess. I mean, I'm pretty sure I was at his first match when he debuted in AIW years ago. So I've seen him go from a young, spry little boy who was, man-sized to now an almost double man-sized boy in AIW and all across the country for various independent promotions, now in MLW. I think Josh Bishop is one of these guys who's the future of wrestling. He reminds me of I'm sure plenty of people say this, but the closest thing to me that he is like an amalgamation of Sid and Mike Awesome if they had a child, which would be quite disgusting, probably the consummation of Josh Bishop. But That's kind of what he reminds me of. And like he brings a level of intensity that you rarely see in pro wrestling nowadays. And, I can't wait to see if he really truly becomes the master and ruler of this world, like he could be.
We've talked to him about the Sid comparisons. Like, why wouldn't I want to be compared to Sid? Sid was fantastic. And then he got the sign off from Masato Tanaka when he faced Tanaka. He's like, you remind me of Mike Awesome when I faced him. And he was, he popped big for that one, getting the sign off from Tanaka.
The modern day gladiator.
Yeah.
Josh Bishop.
We love Bishop. Again, he's been on our show a handful of times, and he's always been very great, very kind.
He's a bonehead. I mean, we can't lie.
He did the last time he was on our show. He did it from his car, and he just had blood like on the top of his roof. He's like, "Yeah, I was bleeding in a match, and like I tried to cover it up, and it squirted and got on the roof of my car, and I had to run into like a Rite Aid pharmacy holding my head, and they didn't know what was happening. Like, I need some bandages." So yeah, you can say that. I don't want to say it. I don't want to get him mad at me.
Par for the course. I've taken plenty of shots from Josh Bishop, so I'm not too worried about it. He's power bombed me on concrete, both against my will and willingly. So
you're facing Matthew Justice as part of the television tapings. I know you got a long history with Matthew as well, and Bishop and Matthew have wrestled all over the country. What now bringing this feud to MLW? Just talk to me a little bit about that and facing Matthew in this setting.
I mean, it's not only like Matt Justice, but for years and years, for like 5-6 years now, however long these guys have been going around as a crew, I've had to deal with the Second Gear crew on show after show after show, running their mouths. They don't shut up. They're in the back talking just loud as hell about how tough they are, talking trash about other guys in the locker room, like probably taking bookings away from me at some point. I've fought Matt Justice before. I've fought one called Manders. I've fought Mance, whatever, Good Brother number 3, whatever he's trying to pass himself off as. And I don't like any of those guys, quite frankly. I'd rather spend my time on the road or in the locker room or in the ring with virtually anybody else on the MLW roster. But yet here I am once again being put into a situation where I got to fight Matt Justice, who never fights fair. These guys, him and Manders attacked me and Josh Bishop before the bell at our tag team title match. These guys, they don't play by the rules. I'm not here to be like a name on Matt Justice's belt. I'm not here to be a name for him to try to have under his wing because he hasn't been able to get it done for the past 15 years like he wanted to. I'm going to beat the crap out of Matt Justice. I'll take whatever few brain cells this guy has left. I'll send him back to the trailer park, to the 18-wheeler, whatever. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Whatever shithole Manders is.
Oh gosh,
is living in. Matt Justice can go hang out with him. What the hell is that?
What is this? I heard one review of my match on the internet.
And that's one more than it deserved.
Listen, does it bother you that people are going to call me Filthy Sean because I have the filthiest drop toe hold in pro wrestling?
I think we should pull up some footage, Sean.
Did you see that beautiful?
I did. I saw you maintain the wrist control, which helps drag her down. You dragged Shaza down to your level.
If there's one thing I like to do, it's to drag Shaza. That is,
yeah, exactly.
I don't even drag others down.
It was nice. Yeah, it was nice. Nice wrist control on that takedown.
Why doesn't anybody do that? Why do I got to teach everybody how to do everything?
Well, are you here to teach me how to talk?
I mean, I could, but anyway, people are. Yeah, that's. Listen, what I want to know is why do you even dare to wrestle when you're a part of media? You should pick a lane, Filthy Tom.
Well, I did get some quite good reviews based on my performance at the last New Japan show when I was in the commentary booth. So, I mean, I'm willing to take the hint from anybody that wants to pay me to talk and not have to wrestle. I mean, if I get an excuse to step away and say, hey, it's because I got a better offer. Not because I'm
next RJ City.
Not because I'm getting slower. Not because I'm getting older. Not because I'm losing muscle mass. Not because my cardio is getting worse. Not because I'm getting uglier. Not because my performance is lacking. It's because somebody else offered me more money. So, hey, throw it my way.
The next RJ City is Filthy Tom Lawlor. I'm excited. I think you would fit that role pretty well.
You could have said like Pat McAfee.
No, but RJ City, he writes all of Tony Storm's stuff right now. He's doing good.
Is RJ known as a wrestler? He couldn't even get like a graphic or anything.
Well,
like,
since this comes out afterwards, he did say in our Fightful Award acceptance speech, please do not stop watching Hey EW because I don't want to chain wrestle ever again.
We would have to begin watching it in the first place to stop.
I think he'd say the same, probably.
Is that a video? It's a video show?
What, a video show? The Hey EW? Yeah, it's a video show.
Oh.
It's allegedly online somewhere.
Usually.
Yeah, you can find it.
Usually.
Somewhere.
Sean, now that you're here.
Yes.
I would like to thank you.
Really?
As a wrestler. Yeah.
Okay. To prevent you from ever doing an atomic drop.
No. It's for the rest of the locker room.
Okay.
Because by you wrestling Shaza, no one else was going to be booked against either you or her. So
that, you know what? That I'll take that. That's a compliment. It's one that I'm going to keep, and I appreciate. And listen, you know my favorite part about that match. We're practicing it, and I do an Irish whip, and I haven't done an Irish whip in like 8 years. And we're practicing it, and she goes, "Whoa, it's a work, mate. Don't ever Irish whip me that hard again." Then she cracks me in the back of the head with a kendo stick as a shoot, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Speaking of legitimacy, can you explain the spot where her butt?
Yeah,
that was a very legit spot.
Well, no. Here's the point I'd like to make. Go ahead, Sean. Can you explain the spot because my memory's a little bit hazy.
Well, listen. If I was able to explain it, it maybe wouldn't have happened, Tom. I probably wouldn't have gone for that had I expected her ass of steel to have
permanently damage your knee. I mean, you can say
it did damage my knee. Listen, I didn't have an official doctor diagnosis, but I've not had a doctor say that my knee isn't shattered yet. And that's the case. Like, people look at Shaza's ass and they're like, wow, look at her making all that money from her OnlyFans. I misjudged it. I didn't know it was going to be like made of titanium. From what I understand, she went to the same surgeon as Lex Luger and had plates inserted. 1 million views on that spot, by the way.
So her ass and Brutus Beefcake's face.
Hopefully not together. Hopefully not together. Although that's a collab that I'm sure people have hit him up about before.
Tony Atlas may have gotten that.
That's just a foot gimmick, buddy.
Yeah, but I think he would be into it regardless.
Either way, I'm sorry I couldn't be here for this entire interview. I really admire your work, Filthy Tom.
I appreciate it.
Please proceed.
Thank you.
An unplanned run.
I'm assuming you knew that was going to happen.
No, I did not. I never know when Sean is going to run in. We do a morning show 3 days a week, and he just appears whatever time he decides to appear on. He's still backstage, by the way. So if you say anything,
I'm always watching.
Mike Sempervive did this to me. Like, I can't get away from it. People are just sending assassins after me left and right.
I did not know that was going to
audio assassins. It's bad enough. You mentioned I had to deal with Brian earlier, like you talked about. Now I got more people coming out of the woodwork attacking me verbally.
It's all these media people who think they're wrestlers, and you know they're coming after you for it because you were trying to take, I mean, a little bit, you're trying to take their jobs a little. You want to fight Walker Stewart for the New Japan commentary gig. I saw that quote.
Yeah, I was quite clear 5 minutes ago. If somebody wants to pay me to sit down and talk in the booth and not wrestle, I'm more than interested. I'll wear a mask. It doesn't matter.
What's the dream Tom Lawlor gig that you get to commentate for?
Oh, I mean anything that's full time, to be honest. UFC, right? Every week, UFC. If they could go, hey, Tom, we need to pay you back for what we did to you, for stealing your career from you. What do you think a fair payment is? I would say, I want Joe Rogan's job. I think that's fair. John Anik wants to step away. He can't handle the fans. I can do it. I'm your man.
There you go. You said it. John Anik is he's getting a lot of heat online. He's trying to step away now. Tom Lawlor, call him up.
Unfortunately, the SmackDown gig was taken. Do I need to fight Matt Stryker this weekend?
Maybe.
Do I need to fight Joe Dombrowski? I don't know who's going to be on the mic for MLW, but they better watch their backs. I'll tell you that much. I'm going to beat up Matt Justice while I'll call the match. Jerry Lawler's not the only Lawler that could pull that gimmick off.
The Rock did that in a couple of his matches. He would just kind of grab the mic and begin commentating.
I'd like to see him do that in one of the UFL games. Play a few downs while he's also on the stick.
I would like to see him do that now with the way that plus The Rock. He was blown up after that day one spot. Very blown up. He's been out of the ring for a while.
He probably can't stand there without sweating bullets. I mean, he's 285 pounds of pure muscle. His metabolic rate is probably through the window. His body temperature is probably 200 Fahrenheit.
He does the clanging and banging. He needs to, running and gunning, get on the cardio a little bit more.
When does he sleep? That's the other issue, right? Like, this guy's probably not sleeping at all. That's why he's sweating so bad.
I don't think he does at all. The greats don't sleep. That's why they're all millionaires. They don't have time to sleep.
Huh.
That's what we're lacking, Tom.
I just took a nap.
Yeah.
Earlier.
We need some rest. These guys,
what's up with that 8 hours? That's a lie.
He's got these energy drinks too. I assume he's just drinking all the Zima, whatever the energy.
Zoa.
I'm not sponsored by it. I don't have to get it right. It's fine.
I don't think he's drinking Zima. Terramana and Zoa.
Yeah. Tell me about the collaborative process in WTF, working with MSL and Matt Cardona. Just how you guys kind of pitch stuff, because I love it. The throwback to the old school 90s, early 90s WWF. You got the hotline and everything.
Yeah.
What's the process like with that?
Some of that stuff I am not involved in the process at all. Obviously, the promos, I have, pretty good reign as to what I can and can't say. I think the mastermind behind all that is the man that you mentioned earlier, MSL. I tell this story every time MSL gets brought up. The very first day, 2005, that I took a bump in my life in a pro wrestling ring, MSL was sitting back there on the couch eating, I think it was Cheetos, but watching me, scouting me at that time, 18, 19 years ago. And here we are now. So it's always a blast when I get to interact with MSL, whether he's showing me around the WTF headquarters, telling me the plans about the future, whether we're hanging out after partying with Bishop. I love, I grew up on 80s WWF. And if you watch the WTF vignettes, that's basically what they're a throwback to, right? Maybe some 90s thrown in there. The Zeta was the
AOL's most downloaded woman.
Downloaded woman for AOL. right? So that's definitely a throwback to the 90s and Sunny. But we've seen different like companies do kind of sports entertainment groups in the past, and there's a lot of stuff that just wasn't done, whether it's like storyline reason or timeline reasons or whatever. And I think that this version, this kind of like throwback to the superstar wrestlers era of the 80s, and like the over the top characters, the vignettes with the cheesy music in the background. I love that stuff, to be honest. So every time I don't even get to see it until the finished product, to be fair, because they don't have the graphics flashing when MSL and I or Josh Bishop are there talking. So when I get to see it on Fusion or on YouTube or on Triller TV, it's always a treat for me and the fans too.
I love the bodybuilding contest with Hammerstone and MSL's just freaking out. They're like, look at his traps. Look at him. Look at this guy.
Like the old Gary Stridham.
It's very good. I love how full bore you guys go with that, because you're right. The other companies have tried to do something, but they don't go into it as much as that, because there's so much you can play off of. I mean, there's the literal just history of WWF and WCW that you can play off that you guys do, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and there's so many like tropes, right? Like, I mean, they brought back the tumbler for the Royal Rumble, but that's a great one to use. Just the different graphics, like the school picture background laser graphic that they've brought back for the WTF. That's just one of my favorites. Hopefully you get to do a little bit more. Maybe it'll move on, to what was it? What was after that 80s era? The new era? Is that what it was called?
The new generation. The new generation.
Yeah. New generation WTF next, or some attitude era. Oh, I can't wait for that new generation WTF. It's gonna be a killer.
Oh, new generation would be very good. They just
make a difference. Make a difference, Josh Bishop. That's what you get. Sparky Lawlor.
I'd say somebody needs to be Dean Douglas, just the teacher.
Hey, I was a teacher. I have a teaching degree, so it might have to be me.
Tom, I appreciate you joining me tonight. Thank you very much for your time. Let everybody know where they can find you at and what you got coming up.
You can always find me on Twitter or X or whatever it is, at Filthy Tom Lawlor. And you can find me this Saturday, as we talked about, it'll be on Triller and YouTube and Fight and beIN Sports in the future. But Saturday night, the 2300 Arena MLW Super Fight. It's going down. Stat card: Yuji Nagata versus Fatu, Alex Kane versus Kojima, and the main event, me versus Matt Justice. And after I beat him up, I'm coming after the rest of that Second Gear crew.
And the commentary team.
You're all on notice. Yeah. You too, Jeremy.
Oh shit.
Anybody who's making money talking, I'm coming for you.
Oh, I don't make any money talking. All my money comes from the writing about the talking.
Damn it.
So yeah. This is all.
You're safe, Jeremy.
Thank you. Tom, I appreciate you joining us. Thank you again. Guys, it is MLW Super Fight. It is on Saturday. It's on Triller TV, Fight TV. You guys can check that out. We'll have plenty of coverage of it on Fightful. Tom, thank you again for joining us. And guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight. We are back. Big thank you to Tom Lawlor for joining us in the Creators Spotlight. Everyone check out MLW Super Fight this Saturday. It is headlined by Alex Kane, who was on the Spotlight last week. You can go check out that interview now. It is up on Fightful Overbooked if you'd like to watch that one. Alex Kane defending the MLW World Heavyweight Championship against Satoshi Kojima. That is the headlining bout on MLW Super Fight. Tom Lawlor will be part of the television taping portion of things. So you'll get to see his match against Matthew Justice on an upcoming episode of MLW Fusion. Guys, appreciate all the support here today, hanging out with us, getting up early with us here on the Spotlight, leaving your chats, your questions, your comments, your statements, leaving your super chats. hopefully I'm back, leaving your general comments on here. We're going to wrap things up. Again, thank you guys for all the support. Head over to Fightful.com. Get all your news out there. Head over to FightfulSelect.com. Check out all the exclusives we have. $5 a month. FightfulSelect.com. Check out all the Fightful Awards. The big award show with Sean and Denise aired last night. All the winners are up on our social media. We have individual posts for all the awards. We're going to have a big awards post as well. So check out the Fightful Award show. Last night, I did a very brief run in if anybody wants to see me on that show, or if you get enough of me because I'm on this channel or every other channel, the Fightful Overbook channel every single day. If you get enough from me, that's fine too. But go check it out to support Sean and Denise and everything we do here at Fightful and all the great sponsors who sponsored the awards for the show. Guys, thank you again. We will be back next week talking everything in the world of wrestling. A new episode of In the Weeds live tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. Myself and Joel Pearl. We will preview the weekend, preview NXT, talk about the fallout from Dynamite as well, and talk about everything else that's going on in the world of wrestling. Guys, we appreciate it. As always, we'll be back next week with a brand new episode of The Spotlight. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Enjoy your Thursday. Goodbye.